Good morning, and hello to all my friends at the Regathering, holding space in Vienna for everyone. So I'm happy to report on the progress we've made building the international consortium.
Wait, Tom, second. I muted him. Now, Tom, let's try.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Okay.
So good morning, everyone. And
Good morning.
hello to all my friends that I can see in the audience, and to everyone regathering and holding space in Vienna. I'm happy to report on the progress we've made in the International Consortium of Integral Scholars, and we have 5 goals we're going for at this point, and which I wanted to show you. Can we see this? So, goal number 1, we wanted to be able to network the expertise among integral scholars. And so far, we've had a lot of success from people in many different countries signing up for the consortium. Second goal, to support graduate student researchers who might be utilizing integral theory. This is the next generation of integralists, and it's important we support them. We want to be able to promote the scientific method and awareness in the integral community. This goes at our truth claims and how we substantiate them. Number 4, academic and research presentations at the IEC conference. I think some of you might have attended in 2018 a seminar titled Integral for Geeks. And it was a wonderful seminar because when we got together in the sharing, we were able to take a deeper dive in some of the nuances of the presentation, and it was very rich for those interested in such concepts. And then finally, we want to develop a research portal where the scholars can interact and support each other's research, in addition where the students can find us. So joining the consortium is by invitation, and we're looking for folks with a doctoral or master's degree who have strong integral theory knowledge, and they can apply it to their work. And if they have quantitative or qualitative or mixed method research skills, all the better in terms of reaching our goal. So in getting ready for this, I heard from many folks a repeated question. And the question was this: why do we need a scientific structures of truth to verify what we already know? Why do we really need this? There are many reasons, including, number 1, it's time to heal the rift between integral theory and traditional academia. Ken Wilber had to break away from traditional academia, including transpersonal psychology, in order to have the freedom to produce the amount of work that he did produce. I can't imagine he would have been successful through the slow process of peer review and traditional academia. But number 2, I wanted to take a more historical context of why we really need a more balanced approach. And I'll show you. So some of you recognize this is a fresco by Raphael done in 1509. And it's called the School of Athens. This was Raphael's tribute to the ancient Greeks and the contribution they were making to the Renaissance at that time. While Raphael was painting this, Michelangelo was flat on his back in the Sistine Chapel, doing the paintings that were no less momentous than this fresco by Raphael. In the center, you can see Plato and Aristotle. We're going to take a deeper look at them in a moment, but if you can see my cursor, this is Heraclitus right here. He's the man who 500 years before Plato and Aristotle said, no man stands in the same river twice. No man stands in the same river twice. Over here is Diogenes sitting on the stairs. He would walk around Athens with a lantern in the daytime saying, I'm looking for an honest man. I'm looking for an honest man. Up here in the red toga is Plotinus. Plotinus was about the year 200, whereas Heraclitus was about 500 BC. There's 700 years that separate these two men. But Plotinus is an important person for integralists. Some of you may remember him in Wilbur's work quite a bit. And just a couple more. Over here is Pythagoras on the left, scrolling, and on the right is Euclid. So here is Plato and Aristotle in the center. And you notice Plato is pointing up. This is the ascension, inspiration, the ethereal, the ideal.
Scroll up a little bit, Tom. Scroll up a little bit.
Oops.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, now good.
Okay. As integralists, we feel that upward pull from our own and each other's spiritual radiance due to our innate attraction to the divine. This is why we privilege and love our developmental lines. Now, on the other side of this tension is Aristotle, and he emphasized the observable, reason, the role of reason, categorization and identification, and he is the father of medicine. The academy had the ancient Greeks had Plato's Academy, Aristotle's Lyceum, the Cynics, who was Diogenes, the Stoics, and the Epicureans. And it was these Greek schools of thought and the Renaissance 2,000 years later that constituted what Jean Houston called axial times. So the tension between Plato and Aristotle really provided the energy that resulted in the Enlightenment that we're still in today. It was Eros and agape, if you will. Eros ascending up, agape coming down. These are the engines of evolution that reverberate through the millennia and continue to this day. In Raphael's time, Copernicus, Galileo, and Descartes were pulling away from the dominant ascension as represented by the Catholic Church. Descartes flew to Paris, Galileo was under house arrest, and Copernicus was laying low. It wasn't until Plotinus, remember the figure I showed you, the upper green, who's referenced by Wilbur and has been described by some as the most important figure between Aristotle and St. Augustine. But it was Plotinus who found a path around the year 225 that got away from this dualism. But it wasn't like anyone was really listening. The dualism played out and was the engine of evolution. But Plotinus had said something very important that is really unique for IEC. He knew the limits of the dialectic. just talking about it was never going to be enough. And he knew the importance of the state experience, what we call today the state experience, that it was the experiential, spiritual manifestation for him. And I really like to give IEC credit for this because I really think we got it right in terms of how we acquire knowledge. So, going back real quick. As integralists, these are our engines of evolution. And by holding the tension between these three forces of postmodernism, which is construct aware, we're aware of the different traditions and where they are on the spiral, and then including modernism. And when we do all three, we are integral. This is what it means. I asked Steve McIntosh, who joined that consortium, to comment on this if we're successful. This is what he wrote. The consortium seeks to synthesize the tension between the modernist criteria for truth, that is, the objective empirical truth, and postmodern notions of truth, which recognize the partially subjective nature of our attempts to discern what is real. If successful, the consortium will accordingly advance a perspective that both includes and transcends the best of modernism, postmodernism, and traditionalism.
Yes.
So that is a piece we're going to elaborate. It's going to be one of the first papers I want to get the consortium to dialogue on. What are our goals? Where are we headed with this group of people? So to wrap up, let me show you a couple more real quick.
Do you want to also share who is already in the consortium and who are invited? Is that
Wait,
or?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me for that, and I didn't put it up on the slides.
Okay. Or just from the top of your head, maybe.
From the top of my head, we have Cook Reuter involved, Terry O'Fallon, Tom Murray, who I'm really looking forward to his help since he's so strong in the empirical end. We have, who else? Can you remember anyone, Ben? Say?
Well, McIntosh that you just mentioned.
Steve McIntosh.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have invited Ken, and we're waiting for his answer. Ken Wilber.
Right.
Yeah, Bob Keegan is on the list.
Bob Keegan's on the list.
Yeah.
And boy, I should have put that list with us.
Your list has like 20 plus people. I saw it, So, but
yeah, we've even gotten more since I've sent that list to you.
A lot of European researchers are also on the list.
A lot of European researchers. I'm amazed at some of the talent of these people. And a lot of them are very excited about doing this. So the more and more I think about it, like one of the earlier goals is I'm going to look at the whole area of test construction, our assessment devices we like to use, and really try to draw from that and make available what psychology has perfected in terms of the criteria of reliability and validity. So we can really shore up some of this. So if I can show you the last couple of slides, then we'll be done.
I think we'll have like 1 minute, Tom, if you could include whatever is important.
So if you think you can help us in the consortium, if you have expertise, please contact me at this Gmail, and I will send you an application. So if you fit the criteria and you can help us, we more than ever need you to help. Are there any questions?
Yes, questions, comments, welcome the last few minutes.
Yes. Hi, I'm afraid I don't know of you, but I appreciate what you're trying to do. But I've also been involved with a scientific and medical network in the UK who've tried to use science to explain consciousness, and it gradually kills it. And I'm just very conscious of intellectualizing something that is beyond the intellectual and killing it.
Anybody else?
Hi, thank you. I think that part of the energy of the Enlightenment was the dynamism of Western philosophers meeting Islamic philosophers. And I think that the future that is integral will be a meeting of Western, Indian, Chinese, African philosophers with the West.
Yeah, I lost the picture of you guys. I'm looking at the ceiling right now. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much more to say on that. Is, you know, when the Alexandria Library burnt, it was some of the Arabs that rescued those scrolls and translated them, helped translate them to an Italian. So the little bit that came through was thanks to some of those Arabs that rescued some of them. And plus got some of the scholars out of that area of the world when it was being invaded.
So Tom, I can from my side at least see with Anne-Marie how we could also connect to the Laszlo Institute of New Paradigm Science and see how from that network we can integrate and connect to other people that might be of support, especially taking into account what you're saying, that we don't kill the spirit, but that we actually really enhance it and bring it forward.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep the microphone very close.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The other thing, just I want to add, you mentioned no women in that. And the bit I find, sorry, too close or?
More
More
close,
close.
so he hears it.
Okay, sorry, there were no women mentioned in your presentation. And sorry, okay, with the exception of Suzanne, I beg your pardon, but of the historic. And what came to my mind is all the women witches that were killed. The women's knowledge that is not intellectualized, that is lived experience, which is for me where it comes along alive. And I said, I'm a scientist, I'm an engineer, I fully get the science, and it doesn't represent. It is an articulation of something beyond it. So please don't lose it. You have got something really rich you're working with. And I'm afraid I'm not an integralist. And you turn me off when you talk about integralists and we are this. Keep it open. You have something really important to share.
Thank you. Absolutely.
One or two more?
At the risk of being kicked out of the room, the challenge that I see is that the Enlightenment, the Renaissance, this is a Eurocentric point of view. And that the scientific method that is being used to support it is a Eurocentric point of view. And so my question is, how will you, in going forward, keep this from being simply ideological colonization?
Wow. Well, you know, one of the challenges of being an integralist is understanding the postmodern limitations of any type of construct and not to get too wedded to it. And when we feel what needs to emerge, no matter what culture or what sex it emerges from, we know the truth. We know the truth, the beauty, and the good when we see it. So it's always a challenge to stay open. I have no illusions of the limitations of empiricism, but it is necessary. It's a foundation that's necessary for us. Jorge Ferreira, when he was there in 2018, really talked about being careful with our truth claims. And I think that's what we want to do. It's not going to be the be-all and end-all of integral theory. That I think what IEC has done well is not let the tail wag the dog, but the academics and empiricism does have to play a role.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, Tom, for being with us. And then we continue. All right?
Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye.